you can be surrounded by people, you can be known by people, heck, you can even be liked by people and still feel lonely. I was growing up in this Tamil Sri Lankan society in my little city that I live in Denmark, and already from the beginning, I got told by my peers. I had, my peers were like my uncle, my aunt, my mom, my dad. I got told by them that you could not hang out with a certain group of people, and those were even Sri Lankan Tamils. I remember this one day where I was just walking as any other 13 or 14-year-old, just jolling around in the middle of the city. And of course, I was not really that present, right? I was, because of my childhood, I was not that so much into my feelings, so much aware, so much in joy, right? Because I was in apathy, right? There had to be some really strong feelings before I could feel anything. And that is what exactly happened this day. Walking there just in my own head, trying to have fun, trying to just think about normal teenage kind of stuff, right? And at that time, I already had friends, so-called friends. So I thought at that time, right? And these friends were Tamils, again, second generation people growing up here in Denmark, but from different, their parents were from different part of Sri Lanka, right? There was this, some people were from Jaffna, some people were from Colombo, which is the capital, some were from Kandy, right? I was from the East Coast, Badiklo, that's where my parents are from, right? So so I was just walking there, and then right of a sudden, I just hear someone just scream, like, not too loud, but not too low, but just that right proportion, right? That right volume. And immediately my heart is just like cut in two, and I see this guy's face. And I realized that this guy is actually my uncle. And he's furious because apparently he has seen me going out, hanging out with these Tamilians, right? And he didn't care, like he saw me there in the middle of the street, and then he just took his pointing finger, right, and said like, or the teacher finger, call it whatever it is, and he said like, why do you hang out with those people? I don't want to see you hang out with those Tamilians. I don't want to see what is it that you're doing. Why? Wait till I'll tell your dad. It was like extremely angry, and you remember, like I was so traumatized, I was so much in apathy that most of the things that went through, I couldn't feel it. But here I could just feel like I couldn't even feel it. But the thing that I was undergoing were that I was just completely paralyzed. And that's why it's a very strong experience that I felt. That's why it is still like tattooed into my brain even till this day, like his angry face and what he said to me and his pointing finger, right? And already from there on, I was very careful because there was this way of behaving, right? Like you got told, like this is the way to behave. This is not the way to behave, right? Like you have to do this, you have to do that. This is how we are. This is how you are supposed to be. Like there was these set of rules there, right? And it made me like monitor myself constantly. There was some other stories too. There was this one story where because again, like I had these friends, and there's a reason why I did like this, because it was people, other Tamilians that I grew up with that I tried to connect with, because I didn't know how to get friends. I didn't know how to like socialize and stuff like that. I was like, these guys were the same skin color as me, Tamilians. Okay, it must mean that these are the ones I'm supposed to be friends with, right? Like you don't really think that much as a kid, right? I'm like, okay, these are the guys, I'm supposed to be with, right? Like we even studied together, like our own language, Tamil, so I even studied Tamil with them, so I saw them in functions and parties and weddings and stuff like that, right? So already from there on, I was just like programmed to think that these guys were my friends, but in reality, no, they were really not my friends. We didn't have that kind of friendly how can I say, atmosphere, friendly ambience, right? because I remember like when I wanted to hang out with them and really connect, like come closer to them, there was not this feelings. I could feel like I was secluded, I was not a part of the tribe, right? I couldn't really connect with them. And I didn't know why, and I didn't know how to find new friends, and I didn't know what to do about it. I just tagged along, right? Yeah, and you can argue if it's sad or not. But anyways, this other story is basically like I'm going to this wedding. My aunt and uncle, my parents are there, and then I go there, and then these same boys, the same environment, the same so-called friends, right? They're also there, right? But I just can't again. It's just surface level. It's like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Okay. It just went logic, Like I couldn't. I remember vaguely that I could not really be part of the laughter, the vibe, the like, wow, yeah, like the jokes and what they talked about. Like when they talked about other females, I really couldn't resonate, right? And they were like a bunch of kids, like there were many, so I couldn't really like have a word in, right? And I remember like when I finally had a word in, people were just serious. I was like, oh, okay, he's speaking now, okay, you know. But anyway, so I'm sitting with those guys and like, oh, I'm bored. Let me just go and talk to my aunt, And then I go talk to my aunt, and I never forget what she says to me at that very moment. He's basically telling me like, why are you here? Why are you here? Go and talk to those guys. Because if you don't, they will not come to a wedding. I was like, what? I was like, yeah, go and talk to them. Because when you talk to them, they will also come to your wedding. I was like, wow, this is medieval, man. Like, this is a whole nother world. What is going on, That's like, even to this day, today, I'm like, wow, okay. Like, wow, okay, it all makes sense, right? It all makes sense. So again, like going back to this, like I was like constantly starting to monitor myself the years ahead, the next decade. Like, am I doing the right thing? Do these guys approve me? Do I even look right? Am I embarrassing anyone? Yeah, and also like it's like basically at this very moment, when I'm around people, most time I just ask myself like, okay, am I performing right now? What if they reject me? What would that mean? What would that tell about me, right? So yeah, so it's also like these are the inner work questions that you need to ask yourself, and that is what I'm doing. So let's say that I am going to a function. For example, like there was this time in Australia, right? Because there was a time where I moved to Australia, I moved to Sydney, and then I worked for this company, right? Worked for this company, and then we went to a company fair. I was with two other Danes, and one of these Danes were even my boss, right? So we went to this fair or supplier meeting, whatever, right? We go there, and then I am like immediately vibing, I'm like, okay, let me go and talk to these guys, And then those two guys who's been in the company for a longer time than me, these two Danish people, right? They are just judging me. They're like, what? You stay with us? What is it that you're doing? What is it that you're doing right now? Like, who do you think you are? Like, I could just feel like and see like, wow, man. I mean, aren't we supposed to talk like? Because at that moment I tried to be more myself actually. In Australia was like the place where I really started to take off. For many years ago, like 8 years ago. 8 or 2017, yeah, so 9 years ago. It was surreal, right? Because I started to care less and less and less about people, what they thought about me. Right? Imagine that I really were attached to how they thought about me. These guys from my company, I will just stay with them and just be there and not move, right? Oh man, boy, oh boy, oh boy. I'm happy that I'm not like that anymore for most parts of my life. So basically, it's like the trick is basically like when you are finding yourself in a similar kind of situation, right? You're in an environment like where maybe you currently are in a society, and you're part of a minority, and you don't have other friends, and this is the minority, this is the community that you have, and you cannot say no, like you don't have the guts or the courage to like stand up for yourself and like, hey, I don't see myself in this community anymore, like I don't see myself with these kind of people, I don't associate myself with these kind of people anymore. Of course, like, you cannot just go from one day to the other, right? And like, okay, guys, I don't really associate myself with you, or guys, this is what I mean. Actually, I was just pretending, I was just pretending like this is what I really mean, like when this and this and that, and I am actually like this, and this is what I love, this is what I desire, this is what I want to do right now. Okay, anybody else? Like, okay, that, like, because then you at that moment you connect into your true self, you take the mask off. But again, like, it's not easy. It's not easy to do first time, right? So the rule is here, right? Okay, not the rule, the protocol, you could say, is like, first of all, trying to figure out, okay, who is it that I'm trying to be right now? That's the number one. And number two is like, okay, what is it that I actually want to do right now? What is it that I'm actually thinking right now? Do I even want to stay here? Do I even want to participate in what is happening right now? Right? Number three, which is step by step, just like be 5% more real, So let's say that you're in a wedding, you have these friends, you really don't like to be around them, it's because it's so surface level and stuff like that. Okay, you can always go there, sit down, catch up with them, but then you don't just sit there and take your phone out, right? Or you don't sit there and pretend like that you like the company, right? Then slowly but you also don't do the other thing, right? Like, where you just don't look at them or anything like that, and just completely just don't even show up to the wedding, right? Because that it's not easy, right? I'm not telling that is the right decision, because you always have to calibrate it in, because it can backfire. Right? You can do all these extreme things, like changing yourself drastically or radically, so you can end up in a place where you burn out, and you're like, for example, you are like maybe watching this video, or you watch another video about, I have to be radical honest, I have to be authentic, and then you just end up saying no to everyone, and you're like getting overwhelmed, and you're like, wow, now I'm lonely, I don't have anyone. What kind of stupid video is this? What kind of other stupid things have I watched about being honest and authentic and no mask? Okay, that's why the step number 3 is basically like, how can I be 5% more honest, right? So it can be that you just speak up your mind just once, or you come up with your opinion just one time, right? And then slowly you just start to be more and more yourself. So for me, right, like just to end my story, right, like how I went from this community, but also I had other friends around too, where I had to think of what I should say, how I should fulfill this dogma that has been installed in my brain, basically just threading eggshells, and there was also this one friend that I'll talk about in another video, where there's the one friend, because this can be very valuable as well. That's like, there's one friend where, I just felt like I had to thread carefully all the time. Like, how you can go from that, like groups of friends or communities where you have to thread waters carefully, to where you can be much more free and start to attract much more authentic people, right? Because when you're much more free and you're speaking up your mind and you are real, right? You're not scared, you're brave, you're real, you accept any kind of outcome. It is just much easier. Like the friends that you're gonna have in your life, you're gonna enjoy it much more. The dates you're gonna have in your life, you're gonna enjoy the dates much more. the family relations, right? For example, with my mom right now, I'm just very honest, and sometimes, I have to be even, I have to speak up my mind, I have to set some boundaries, but that, and it can feel uncomfortable, it can feel uneasy, but it has made my relation to my mother much, we are like so close. We can talk about almost everything, right? Like I enjoy her company much, much more. I really feel her being a mother for me, right? Because I stood up for myself, because I'm taking my mask off, I can feel like, wow, this is me, whoa, this is amazing. So again, like you have to stop, like, real connection. It really starts. It starts when we stop abandoning who we really are. When we stop to connect, when we stop acting, when we stop having this mask on. That's when the real connection starts. Otherwise, it's just fake connection, right? It's conditioned connection. It's not good. It's not fun. It's not even a real connection, right? And yeah, guess what? Some people, they will reject you, right? But that is the price, that is the price of authentic connections. Remember that. So if you're tired of like adapting yourself and overthinking and hiding different parts of yourself, and you want to be accepted all the time, you feel like you're in separateness, right? You're a separate being, you never ever, connected, you feel like you are alone and stuff like that. Join us in school, because that's where I teach about connectedness, this oneness philosophy that really, like, even me saying is oneness philosophy, like, wow, you are one, right? So please join us in school. I'm also available for a friendly talk, just a friendly talk. We can do that too, if you feel like stuck, or if you really resonate with this story, maybe you are also like a second generation, second generation individual who feels like he cannot really fit in his society, maybe even with all the people, the natives that lives here, in your country, or or you really, you're just really struggling, right? Yeah, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. All right, that's it for me. And yeah, all the best with everything. God bless you, and have a beautiful, curious mind that you can feed all the time. All right.